Okay, you ready?
Oh, I suppose.
Good. Because it's time.
Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Twisted and Mysterious.
A mostly true crime and mystery podcast.
Pretty much. That's pretty much all that it is.
Yep. Mostly.
It's not a lot of anything else because we're really boring people.
Absolutely.
But the school year's almost over.
Yes.
And I'm back on the Ozempic train.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, it's fun.
Not feeling so great.
Not feeling so great. It's not my favorite medication to be on.
No, it doesn't sound like it's very fun.
But hopefully the side effects will lessen the longer that I'm on it. They're maybe supposed to, kind of, from what I read.
Yeah, I was wondering... I mean, obviously you're on it because of your diabetes, not for weight loss. But the people that are on it for weight loss, I wonder if it's not even so much that it helps you lose weight directly, but indirectly because it just makes you feel so bad that you don't want to eat.
Well, that's what I was wondering too, just because of how bad it does make me feel. I was like, this is how people lose weight, because it makes you feel gross.
Yeah, yuck.
And we're currently taking care of a kitten that does nothing but scream.
And scream and scream and scream.
We had to move him to the other room while we recorded because that would be all you heard.
Yeah, he would definitely be the star of the show.
Yeah, he has a lot to say.
I don't know that I've ever met anybody who talks as much as him, and I'm in a room with teenagers all day.
Yeah, it's a lot. We did find homes for 3 kittens.
Yes.
But there's still about 1 million more.
I was going to say 67, but 1 million's probably more accurate.
Yeah. Gotta love kitten season.
I do not.
And living out in the boonies with a bunch of stray cats.
Yep. Well, and then there's been, like, rain and tornadoes and stuff. Like, obviously not tornadoes right here that I know of, because I would already be dead if there was one.
One of the kids said that the town that we work in was under tornado watch yesterday.
There was a tornado watch. I don't worry so much when it says watch, because it's just like conditions could produce a tornado, but that it's not like a warning. But I keep seeing like storm chaser videos pop up of like neighboring towns, tornadoes being in those. It was so funny. We were driving home yesterday, and you know, like I'm terrified of tornadoes. Like, I don't even have any rational reason to be afraid of them because I've never even seen one in real life. But
I've seen one from a slight distance.
The one that you took the picture of, and then I had a heart attack because you took a picture of it.
Yeah.
But we were driving home yesterday, and it was just blowing dust. Like, it was just dirt blowing across the road. And, like, I muted the radio and put my brakes on, and Bear was like, "What's the matter?" And I was like, "Is that a tornado?" And he was like, "It's dust."
That would be dirt. We live in Dirtville in the spring.
And like the sky wasn't churning or anything, but the wind was blowing and it was kind of stormy, and it's just like, I feel that it's got to be how Rosie feels when it's thundering, like just that like panic. I don't know, like I can't even enjoy thunderstorms anymore because I'm so worried that it's going to create a tornado.
Yeah. I think it's just hard to enjoy because of animals, and
that too.
They are stressed out, so it stresses me out. And
yeah. But like, I love a thunderstorm. I like to lay there and listen to the rain and the thunder, and like that's never bothered me. But I guess recently, because there has been so much like potentially tornadic activity around us, that it just freaks me out, and I can't even enjoy it anymore. I just immediately think that there's going to be a tornado and then I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
gotta love weather.
I hate weather. You know what? I just want it to be summer when it's just hot, and that's just it. That's just it. Just summer and hot. And I know that's a very unpopular opinion, apparently. People like to be cold. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't understand people who enjoy the cold.
I do not enjoy the cold.
I would much rather be hot, laying in the air conditioner, than freezing trying to get warm.
There's, like, part of me that likes the idea of winter. Like, but then once it gets cold, I'm like, just kidding. It can be summer again.
I can't even romanticize winter. I just think of cold and I'm just like, ick.
I like the idea of snow. Like, it's pretty and it makes everything quiet. And so I like that. But then whenever you're dealing with, like, the animals in the snow and everything's a mess and it's cold and then the roads freeze and bleh, I hate the winter.
Yes.
I want like New England fall. That's what I want. Like, cool, crisp, leaves are changing. I'm not getting heat stroke when I go to the pumpkin patch.
Yeah, I guess.
But in general, I just want it to be summertime.
Yes.
That's why I'm going to move to Costa Rica and live at Jurassic Park.
I think there's a lot of rain in Costa Rica.
There is a lot of rain, but it's always warm.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be wet all the time.
I guess. Well, it is the rainforest.
I know.
So, there's that.
Yeah.
And then you might get eaten by a dinosaur or a jaguar.
Possibly.
One
or
of the
both.
two. Or both. Well, anyway. So, how was your day?
It was fine. I only worked for about 5 minutes today, and then I dealt with the screaming kitten, and then I took a nap.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, pretty uneventful.
Uneventful is good sometimes.
I have kitten formula in my hair because he thinks he needs to burrow into my hair, and
as kittens do.
So my hair is crusty.
Yeah. I noticed there was a kitten bottle over there.
Yeah, I had been sitting in the floor trying to feed him. He doesn't really like to eat. But so I had made him a fresh bottle because he had finally finished the first one, and
nice.
But he just, I don't know. He doesn't stop screaming long enough to do anything else.
So I spooked myself earlier.
Oh, yeah?
Which is funny, because I feel like I don't spook easy. Like, I know, like, sometimes I get spooked. But I feel like I don't spook easy.
I scare myself all the time.
You scare yourself all the time. Like, when you won't come home unless somebody's here.
Yeah.
But, I am at school a lot after everybody's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm usually, like, one of the last people there. And, like, even in the wintertime when, like, the sun's gone down and everything and the lights are all turned off and everything, I'm not spooked.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not worried about it. Like, whatever. Tonight, though, I don't know. I was watching Ghost Bros, and Ghost Bros isn't scary.
No.
Like, they're such dorks. But I was watching that, and I was working on the story, and I was getting ready to leave. And so I have, like, my big podium that I sit at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side of my podium, I have that, like, standing desk that, like, the glue sticks and stuff are sitting on. And that desk is wobbly.
Yeah.
I even emailed the welding teacher today asking him if he could send somebody to fix that because it's, I guess, a service they provided in the welding class. But I asked if he could send somebody to fix it because it's wobbly. But I was sitting at my podium, and you had already picked up Bear. All of the night school kids were gone. Mm-hmm. And it wobbled. And, like, I saw, like, the, because I have the rulers, like, sitting in that thing. Mm-hmm. And, like, the rulers, like, shifted when the table wobbled. And so it caught my attention. And I was like, what made that wobble? Because I even, like, shook my podium really hard to see if it would make the table wobble. And it didn't.
Yeah.
And so it probably was just settling, but it spooked me a little bit. And so then the whole rest of the time that I was in the room by myself, like, I kept looking at the door. Somebody go in here with me? Yeah. And so I was glad to leave today, even though the sun was still up and everything. But
yeah,
I just gave myself a little spook today.
Being alone is creepy.
Sometimes. I don't normally mind being by myself, though, because it's quiet, and I feel like I'm never by myself. And I like to be by myself. And so since I'm, like, constantly overstimulated all day long, and then I come home and we're dealing with the animals, and we're it's like there's always something going on. I, like, love those moments when I'm just in my classroom by myself and it's quiet. And so tonight I just got a little spooked.
It happens.
Yep. Well, anyway, I don't know if you can hear me because I moved away. I told you that maybe this week I would cover the paranormally part of Villisca.
Mm-hmm.
I did it.
Wow.
I know.
You did a thing.
I did the thing. I followed through.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of following through, I'm taking a class to move my license up so that I can get a raise.
Mm-hmm.
And I had submitted a couple of assignments, and the teacher was like, these are horrible, terrible assignments, and told me I had to redo them. Direct quote. And I kept putting it off because that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. I redid them.
Yeah.
And I submitted them.
Well, hopefully they don't tell you they're also horrible and terrible.
I hope not, too. Considering, like, when I tried to take the class the first time, the teacher gave me 100s on them.
Yeah.
I don't know what's with the new teacher.
People are different and particular.
Apparently. So, anyway, to recap the Villisca Axe murders.
Yes.
The night between June 9th and 10th, 1912, an unknown person entered the home of Josiah and Sarah Moore and killed them, their 4 children, and 2 of the daughter's friends that were spending the night,
Yes.
bludgeoning them to death with an axe. He then He struck.
He struck so many.
He struck so many times. But then he stuck around to have some supper and cover all the bodies in mirrors, do something weird with a slab of bacon before locking up and heading out.
Yes.
And there were several suspects, including a traveling Peeping Tom Reverend and a state senator / business rival to Josiah Moore.
All of those are words, especially the one about the Reverend, are words you like to hear together.
Aren't they the favorites?
Traveling Peeping Tom Reverend.
No bueno. There was like the serial killer kind of theory that goes on there too, but no one was ever convicted of the crime. So last week we covered the murder / crime part of the story. So if you're new tonight, you might want to go back and listen to that one. Tonight we're going to talk about the paranormal part of the case. So we kind of talked last week towards the end of the episode that the house changed owners several times.
Yes.
Since the murders occurred. I think it was like 13 or something. I don't know if 13 is like an accurate number, if it's just a scary number.
Yes, if they just picked that because it sounded spooky.
Yeah. So, unless you're Taylor Swift loves the number 13. So, anyway, sometimes over the years it had been used as a rental property before it was purchased in the 90s by the current owners who run it kind of as like a museum / overnight tourist attraction.
Right.
So, one thing that I kind of forgot to put in the episode last week is that, like, the town's whole name is kind of weird.
Okay.
So, I mean, Villisca is like a weird word. So, but, the town's founders took the site from... Or not the site from... Well, they probably took the site.
Yeah.
Let's be real. But they took the name from a Native American word, Villisca. And they thought that it meant pretty place. And they were like, absolutely, this is it. Apparently, the word actually means, like, evil spirits.
Means creepy place where people get bludgeoned by axes.
And I heard another podcast say, and I didn't see it anywhere else, that the land that the town is on is actually the land or near the land where this Native American tribe would bury their, like, mentally ill members of the tribe. So it's not starting out so good to begin with.
No.
Plus, you know, white people came and stole it. So already bad vibes. Yeah. So, you know, we can't ask for much after, like, moving forward.
No.
So
they set themselves up for disaster.
Absolutely. So, according to a Medium article, a young couple moved into the house in the 1930s. And shortly after moving in, the wife started hearing noises and was convinced there was someone in the house. She woke up one night to see a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed holding an axe. She freaked out.
As one does.
I was going to say, as one might.
I know every time I wake up and there's a shadowy figure holding an axe at the foot of my bed, I freak out.
Dude, you're the one who sees the Hat Man.
I've just heard about the Hat Man.
Oh, you've never actually seen the Hat Man?
No, but I don't usually take Benadryl.
We didn't ask Mom if she saw the Hat Man.
No.
We need to ask Mom. Mom, if you're listening, could you tell me if you ever saw the Hat Man?
Have you seen the Hat Man when you're on Benadryl?
One day, because she's usually behind.
Yes.
She's going to be like, so the Hat Man. And I'm going to be like, where's this coming from? Just like that day when she said something about some guy named Burger. And I was like, whose name is Burger?
What?
Anyway, it's a story for a different day. In the past, go back and listen to that episode. I don't remember which one it was. St. James Hotel?
The Burger episode?
Yeah.
No.
Which one was it?
I told you, I think it's the guy that
Robert
dressed...
Durst. Yeah, okay, you're right. Okay. You know what? I remember things as they're happening. They're gone afterwards.
Gotta make room.
I'm telling you, this ADHD, she's a fun guy. Or gal.
Or they.
Yeah. You know what? They might be a they be. Oh my goodness, I totally lost. Oh, so she freaked out. She saw the man holding the axe. She would make her husband, like, wake up and, like, watch her sleep just to make sure. And he didn't believe her.
Yeah.
He was like, that's so silly. And then, I guess, one night while he was awake and she was asleep, he started hearing things. Uh-huh. And he went into town the next day, and he was talking to some people who I guess he didn't know the history of this house.
Okay.
I guess you didn't have to disclose these things in the 1930s. Plus, there was not the interwebs.
You didn't have to disclose the axe murders.
And so somebody was like, oh yeah, this thing happened. And he was like, okay, so we're moving.
Mm-hmm. That's fun.
Yeah.
So we'll not live there.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a great time for me.
I don't want to live in the axe murder house.
No. I'm going to build a whole brand new house where no one has
ever been axe murdered.
Have occurred. Okay. So, another story in that same article, but it's also a story that I read about in other sources and heard about on Ghost Bros. In the 1960s, a married couple with 2 daughters rented the house, and the daughters were actually on the episode of Ghost Adventures. Mm-hmm. And they said that I wrote the first night. I didn't go back and make sure that was correct. But one of the nights that they were sleeping in the house, they were sleeping downstairs. And a night that they lived there, they heard the sound of children giggling.
That's always delightful.
Yeah. And you would think, like, children giggling. That's such a happy noise.
I was going to say, you always hear that one of the best sounds is the sound of children's laughter. Not when there should be none.
When there should be no children there.
Not in the middle of the night when you are the only children and...
Right, because you
live in an axe murder house.
You would think that, like, little kid ghosts would be, like, the least threatening. But little kid ghosts seem to be the scariest ones.
They're pretty creepy.
It's like Joey and the little girl ghosts.
Yes.
Oh. So, several times they would wake up and they would hear children crying. They would sometimes find their clothes kind of thrown around the room or hanging from the mirrors and the windows, which, remember, the killer covered up all of the mirrors and stuff. Their father, like, steadfastly did not believe their stories. He was just like, you guys are crazy little kids. You're making stuff up. Until one night...
Totally normal to wake up and have everything be covered with clothing.
Yeah. Dad had a little paranormal experience of his own. So he was sitting at the kitchen table sharpening his pocket knife. And I guess, like, when you're sharpening your pocket knife, according to the reenactment, like, you're, like, pushing the knife on the block away from you as you're sharpening it, right? And the daughters that were on Ghost Adventures both said that he had been sharpening it when suddenly it looked like someone grabbed his arm and turned the knife back on him and it stabbed into his arm.
Lovely.
Yeah, so allegedly he told his family to pack their things that night and they moved out.
Oh, if Dad gets creeped out.
That's what I said. In that fact, that's exactly what my next line that I wrote down was. It's like, oh, okay. Like, they've been telling you for I don't know how long that they're being haunted by something.
But if you get something creepy happen to you, then let's go.
But it's the same thing as the married couple. The wife is like, I keep hearing things, and the husband's like, absolutely you don't. And then he hears something, he's like, we're moving out.
Never mind, we're gone.
Yeah. So.
Ain't that just the way?
Yep. So the daughters that were, I mean, I keep saying it like there were some that were not on Ghost Adventures, because there's only 2. They were both on Ghost Adventures. They were both, like, visibly distraught on the episode, like, walking into the house. Like, one of them, like, standing in, like, the kitchen area was just, like, wringing her hands the whole time she was standing there. Yeah. The other one, while she was talking to Zach, she was like, I have to sit down. Like, she was getting dizzy and felt gross and, like, horrible the whole time. They were just, like, agitated the whole time. You know, and they were just like, I don't like being here. I don't like what I feel like when I'm in here. It's no good. Sorry, I felt like I was going to sneeze. So then one crazy story that I found in a Vice article alleges that on November 7th, 2014, so just like not that long ago, like 10 years ago, a 37-year-old man named Robert Larson from Wisconsin had gone to stay over in the house for a paranormal investigation. The first article, because there were 2 articles that I read on Vice about this. So the first article was like right after this incident happened. And it said that he was with a group of friends and they went to do a paranormal investigation in the house. The later article where they interviewed the caretaker of the Villisca house said that it was just him and like his elderly parents that came to stay for the night. But the sheriff at the time said that Robert was in one of the upstairs bedrooms and the rest of the group, so his parents, I guess, were outside when they received a call from him on their walkie-talkies, and he's like yelling for help. And when they found him, he had stabbed himself in the chest with a hunting knife. And his friends or parents, whoever he was with, called 911. He was taken to the hospital and then had to be airlifted to like Omaha or something. The incident happened around 12:45 a.m., which, as the Villisca story goes, the family was thought to have been murdered after midnight. He did survive his injuries. In the second article on Vice, it said, so the interview was with the Villisca caretaker, Johnny Hauser, and he said that he had always wanted to reach out to the guy to find out what had happened, but he just never did. And then years later, a paranormal show called Kindred Spirits. Have you ever heard of that one?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but that doesn't mean that I haven't.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of it. But they were filming at the house, and he walked into the barn, and this guy was sitting in a chair with, like, the equipment around him because they were going to interview him for this show. And he was just like, oh my God, it's you. Like, I've been wanting to talk to you. And so he said that he, like, the very first question he asked him was, why did you bring a knife to this house? And the guy told him that he usually does, like, conceal carry, but he didn't know what the Iowa laws were, and so he just brought a knife, I guess.
I need some kind of a weapon with me at all times.
You can't stab a ghost.
Right.
So, okay.
You can't shoot a ghost either.
No, you can't. Well, I'm just saying, like, that whole thing is ridiculous. Unless you're a cop, I don't know why you need to carry a gun around.
No.
It doesn't make any sense to me. How many people who have licenses to carry weapons or conceal carry weapons or whatever get attacked on the streets?
Right. Like, how often does that happen?
And if you're doing conceal carry, it means that somebody doesn't even know you have the gun on you. So how many times are you getting attacked that you need to carry a gun with you at all times?
Yes.
Anyway, that's beside the point. So he said this Robert guy told the caretaker that he was alone in the upstairs bedroom doing that stupid Zak Bagans thing where he's yelling at the ghosts and trying to make them mad. And then the next thing he remembers, he was in the hospital.
What do people expect when they provoke a ghost?
I don't know. I mean, like, I know, like, for Zach, it's probably, like, for TV. Like, I mean, like, you want to elicit some kind of reaction because you want something to be shown on your TV show. But, like, I mean, this guy was by himself.
Yeah.
And he obviously didn't have a camera or anything because none of this was filmed. So, anyway, so the caretaker, Johnny was his name, yeah. He said that one thing that happened was that as soon as they walked back into the house, the very first thing this guy did was apologize to the ghosts.
I'm so sorry.
I'm incredibly sorry. So other than those very specific incidents, the owners of the house say that there are very few people who walk away from the house without having had some kind of paranormal experience.
There are very few people who walk away from the house. Period.
Yes. So
no one makes it out alive.
That's right. Well, and so the Villisca axe murder episode of Ghost Adventures is like from season 4, so it's when what's his face was still on the show.
Nick.
I'm sorry. I keep like covering my mouth because I'm itchy my nose. And so it's that beginning where he's like, welcome to your final destination, hell, whatever it says. It makes me laugh every time. I don't know which is worse, that opening or the current one.
I don't know. They're all pretty bad.
You would think he would get better at talking on camera instead of sounding like he's reading.
Yes.
It's been a long time, and he has so many shows. But you know what? We all keep watching them.
We all continue to support them.
Yeah, we do. We've made him rich.
Yes.
All right. Well, anyway,
He can keep himself supplied with sparkly jeans.
That's right. And hair gel.
And thick rimmed glasses.
Yeah.
And really tight t-shirts.
Probably some tribal tattoos. Yeah.
Good times.
He can keep buying haunted objects.
Yes.
We'll have to go to his museum someday.
And pretend haunted objects.
And pretend haunted objects. Yeah, stupid Dybbuk box. And I think he still has it in there.
I know.
Even though it's been debunked.
Even though it's been proven that it's fake.
Yeah.
But.
So, anyway, the most common paranormal experience people have is hearing children giggling or crying. People hear footsteps on the stairs, objects move, or doors open or close by themselves. There were 2 instances in Ghost Adventures when this happened. So the first was when the crew were in the house during the day doing their interviews. And they were upstairs in the children's bedroom when the door, I think it was the door to the closet, just closed by itself. And it was Zach and whoever was filming. And then there was another guy in there that they were interviewing, and I can't remember who he was to the story of the house. But the guy that they were interviewing was facing the door, and Zach was sitting on the bed, and, like, the closet door is off camera, so you don't actually see it shut. But you just see the guy that they're interviewing, like, point. And Zach, like, kind of looks over, and he goes, that just shut. Did you see that? And the guy was like, yeah, I was looking right at it whenever it shut. And so Zach gets up and is like, hey, is there anybody there? And he opens the door, and then he kind of like shuts it most of the way to kind of show you that it's not just gonna swing shut by itself. So I guess they didn't. Oh no, that wasn't part of it. I skipped something. So that was the first time. And then the second time was during their night investigation, and they didn't actually see it firsthand, but when they were going over their footage, you see a door slam shut. And the door starts out, like, completely open where it's back against the wall. So there's nobody standing behind it. And then you kind of hear what sound like footsteps approaching the door. And then the door just slams shut. And, you know, I can completely skeptic this away by saying that, like, you can't see inside the room, and maybe there was fishing line, and they pulled the door shut, and this is why therapy doesn't work on me, because I over-rationalize everything, because I just literally everything.
Yeah.
So they also got a couple of EVPs. There was one where they thought it sounded like a voice saying, "I killed 6 kids," and it's like, I could interpret it that way, but it wasn't clear enough for me to interpret it that way.
It's one of those things where, like, once you hear it, like, once you're told what you're listening to, you can kind of hear it.
And even then, I was like, I mean, maybe, but, like, I didn't really hear it. It just kind of, like...
Yeah.
So then they started using the spirit box, and that's the noisy one. And they asked for the murderer's name, and they thought the voice said Andy. And there was a transient man named Andy Sawyer who had been considered a suspect at one point. And to me, if he said Andy, he said it with an accent. I mean, and this is 1912. There were lots of immigrants, so I don't know. My favorite one was when Aaron asked, "Are you scared of us?" And clear as day, a voice goes, "No."
Should I be? Are other people?
And they say, "Tell me what your name is." And it sounds like someone responds with Lena. And Lena was one of the Stillinger girls' names that was murdered in the house. They asked some more questions and then asked again, "What is your name?" And they got a response that sounded like Paul. And Paul was the 5-year-old little boy who had also been murdered in the house. So, other than those, I don't think there was really anything of note. I also visited a site called Adelaide's Haunted Horizons, and on their blog, they detailed their investigation. So, if you remember, there was a suspect named Henry Moore, and I think he was the one who killed his mother and grandmother with the axe. So when this group of paranormal investigators was in the house, they received the words Henry and murder. And when they asked if Henry was the murderer, they got the words leave and get out. And they also got the words Ina, which Ina was the other little Stillinger girl, and house and death and us. Have you ever watched Sam and Colby on YouTube?
I don't think so.
So I like to refer to them as the Gen Z Ghost Bros. They're very young dudes who do paranormal investigations, and their episode was really good. I watched it a little while ago, so I don't want to ruin all of their stuff from their episode because it was really good. But and so you should definitely go watch it. But one of the funny things is there's a cat on the property that loves to run in the house, and he's this gray cat, and his name is Church. And I don't know, like, you know, most times animals like to stay away from scary things, but cats are also crazy, so there's also that. And so the cat kept showing up, and, like, these guys were, like, in love with the cat the whole time.
Right.
I feel like I have something in my throat. So the caretaker, that Johnny Hauser guy from the article earlier I was talking about, he takes them to the house and is walking them around at the very beginning, and he was showing them pictures of people's scratch marks that they get when they're in the house. Even on day tours, people will walk away with scratches on them. It's a pretty
common thing that happens in haunted places.
So he also told a story about being there late, and he was upstairs fixing something, and he heard what sounded like someone coming into the house and walking around downstairs, and he was like, "Oh, this is great because it's some kid who broke into the house." And he was like, which is stupid because you don't need to break into the house. Like, if you want to see it, I'll just show it to you.
Right.
But he was like, he could hear him walking around, and he could hear him like start to come up the stairs, and he was like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna hide in this closet, and then when they come upstairs, I'm gonna jump out of the closet. I'm gonna scare them. So he gets in the closet, he hears the footsteps come up, and it's old creaky house.
Right.
And wooden floors. And so just like our house, like if somebody's walking around, you can even feel the vibrations on the floor. And he said he could feel the vibrations on the floor. He could hear somebody stomping up the stairs, coming in the room, walking around. So he like opens the door, like ready to scare whoever it is. And there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And so he said that was kind of like the scariest thing that happened to him while he's been in that house. And he's been there for a long time, like a lot of years working there.
So he got spooked instead.
He got spooked. Yeah. He said there was another time where he was downstairs and he heard like somebody walking around upstairs and heard a dresser drawer like shut. And he was like, who is upstairs? And he went upstairs and there was nobody there.
Yeah.
And this house is like super tiny. So I hear upstairs and I immediately think big house. Because I think that that's like when you are raised in a house that's not a 2-story house, you immediately think 2-story houses are big.
Right.
But it's a very tiny house. And so when you go up the stairs, and of course they're very narrow little wooden stairs because it's a house that was built in the 1900s, you like kind of go straight into the parents' bedroom, and then you have to go through the parents' bedroom to get to the little kid's bedroom, and the ceilings are really low, and so everything's very like close and tight, and only those 2 bedrooms are upstairs, and so it's kind of like one of those, I don't know if you call it split level, where it's like part of the house is just 1 story, and then there's the other part that's the 2 stories. But so no matter where you're in the house, like you're gonna hear if there's somebody else in another room. So on the show, I learned a new fact about the night of the murders that I hadn't read anywhere else. And so apparently the town council in Villisca was having some kind of dispute with the power company. But remember, like, the house that they lived in didn't have any electricity. But the town had electricity, like, for like, streetlights and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they were having some kind of a fight with the power company. And the power company turned off all of the lights in town. And so it's, like, extra dark the night that these murders happened.
Okay.
So that's kind of creepy. They had a bunch of different, Sam and Colby and their 2 guys that were with them had a bunch of different equipment that they had going on. So they had a REM pod that kept going off. They had bought some mag lights that are the ones that you have to twist on and off. Okay. And those ones kept turning on and going off. They had the music boxes. I don't know. Like, does Ghost Adventures ever use the music boxes?
I don't remember.
But, like, it sounds like a creepy music box when it goes off. But they had those going on. And so, like, those kept going off. They also had something that they were calling, like, cat balls.
Yeah.
But it was,
they, like light up, right?
Yeah. And you have to hit them pretty hard to make them light up. And those kept going off in random places.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. So I finally learned the name for, remember how we were always impressed with the Goblin show when they were doing the spirit box, but they had the headphones on? Apparently that's called the Estes method.
They might have said that on the show, but we only watched it the one time and it's been years.
But Sam and Colby and their buds did this with a bunch of times in the house, and so you get blindfolded and you have the headphones on. You can't hear anything that anybody's saying to you, and you're just saying what's coming out of the headphones. And so they did it a bunch. They got a lot of stuff about like trains and like leaving, and but there was a couple of parts that were really cool. They would ask who the killer was, and the voice like that was coming out of the thing kept saying, you know, every time that they would ask. And one time it said like it was worth it.
Right.
And then Sam was sitting in one of the closets doing the Estes method, and there was a cat ball on the ground behind him, and it started going off, and one of the guys said, are you behind him? And the voice said, behind.
Yeah.
So that was really weird.
Pretty creepy.
And one of them said, thanks for being here. And
thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. And I'm the Reverend came out of there, which like is a random thing for just that to say, especially when one of the suspects was a traveling peeping Tom Reverend. The creepiest one was at the very end. They went into one of the bedrooms, and like the REM pod kept going off next to the bed, like presumably where the killer had been standing. The flashlight kept going on and off. Then their little like portable light that they had sitting on the bed just went off complete in darkness. But right as the light went off, the guy who was doing the Estes method went, "I'm coming," or "he's coming," or something. And then the light went off, and it was super creepy, but it was really cool.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So that was a good episode. If you're interested in that kind of thing, you should go watch that. There's so many different paranormal investigations that you can watch on YouTube and stuff that do this, and like lots of reports of them. Not Sam and Colby, but it was like a different article that I had read, said that they had captured, and I did not hear this. It was not an EVP I heard. It was an EVP I read about, but they said that they had captured the sound of screaming, and they assumed that that was the murders. But for me, I'm like super like doubtful about that one. I'm not saying they didn't hear screaming. I'm just saying I don't think it was the murders, because I think it's pretty well proven that the Moores were asleep.
Yeah, there wasn't really a chance for screaming.
Yeah, plus the neighbor that like realized that there was something wrong at the house lived next door. I mean, it wasn't like the houses were like up against each other, but they were close enough that I think that if they had been screaming, especially in 1912 where there's no noise pollution, like you're not going to have like music and radios and TVs and air conditioners and fans and stuff going. I think that if like this entire family had been screaming literal bloody murder, like I think she would have heard it happening. So I don't think that that probably was a thing, but I don't know. So visitors have also encountered shadow figures, random mists in the room. People have reported their hair being tugged or being touched. Sometimes people will feel just a random sudden chill, like snow just started, like it like really cold. Batteries drain rapidly, completely. Bad vibes are often reported.
Yeah, I mean,
if you can imagine.
I would imagine.
8 people, including 6 children, were slaughtered in that area, so there's in that space, so there probably are a lot of bad vibes. But yeah, so
the vibes are not immaculate at this house.
Not immaculate at all. So anyway, there's lots of shows that you can go watch, books to be read, podcasts to be listened to, and you can book your own overnight stay if you feel like being haunted.
If that's the kind of thing you're into.
That's not the kind of thing I'm into.
No, me either.
But if you are, you can go do that. And I guess, like, in the grand scheme of the world, it's not that expensive. It's like $500 or something.
Yeah.
But I guess if it's for your whole group, it's not a lot.
Could be worse.
Definitely. So anyway, that is the haunted tale of the Villisca axe murders.
All right. That was pretty haunted.
It is. Well, what next?
I'm gonna try to feed a screaming kitten, and I'm gonna probably not exercise.
I'm definitely not. I'm already in my pajamas.
And then I'm gonna go to sleep.
Sounds like a plan, Stan. You were asleep a minute ago.
I know. It was
a whole minute ago.
A whole minute ago. 45 minutes ago.
Pretty close. All right.
But, I don't think I have to work tomorrow, so guess I'm gonna sleep in.
Yeah.
Unless I'm gonna try, because I'm gonna have to get up and take care of that kitten.
Yeah. Bear's got to do his poster.
Yeah, I don't know that he's ever gonna get his poster done.
He doesn't get to go on vacation.
I think he gets to skip school.
No, he's just gonna stay home and he's gonna do his... Is that what I just said? No, he's gonna stay home. You said he's gonna skip school. I said, no, he's gonna stay home. No, no, he needs to get his poster done. He doesn't need to skip school to do that.
No, I mean, he's not gonna...
Oh, not gonna go to his wax museum thing. No, I think he's gonna do it. He's just gonna do it at What do they call it? I know the last minute, but what's the word for the last minute? Like the phrase. Not last minute.
Is there another phrase for the last minute?
Yes. What is it?
I don't know what you're trying to say, so I can't help you with this one.
Amy's probably screaming out of her radio right now.
I guess if I heard the phrase you were talking about, I might be like, oh yeah, but at the moment, I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know either.
The only thing I can think of is penultimate.
And I was thinking, like, 0 hour, but I don't think that's it either. Well, if you follow us on social media, you can send me a message and tell me how dumb I am and tell me what it is.
Yeah.
And that would be at twistedandmysterious, or you can email us at twistedandmysteriousPodcast@gmail.com. Fun fact. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make another email that's just Twisted and Mysterious, just in case emails go to the wrong place.
Yeah.
That one is taken.
Yeah.
So perhaps people are getting our emails if people are sending them to the wrong place.
Send them an email and be like, please forward our emails here.
If you get any emails for me, please send them to me, please.
Please forward them to this address.
Yeah. So anyway, it's Twisted and Mysterious Podcast at gmail.com.
So please don't send anything to twistedandmysterious at gmail.com because
we don't know if they're actually twisted and mysterious.
They could be twisted and mysterious. So you don't want to send your emails to them. You want to send them to us.
Yes.
So that we can use them for future podcast episodes.
Yes.
Whether that's your ideas.
We can use them for personal gain.
Yes. Whether that's your ideas for podcasts that you want us to cover, or whether it's your listener tales that we would really like you guys to send in.
Yep. Okay. Well, now it's time to say goodbye.
I guess that's it for another week.
To all our family.
Yes.
M-I-C.
K-Y.
M-O-U-S-E.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to start singing.
Dang it. Okay.
Okay, I think that's all we have to say. So, as always, remember that people are gross and don't get murdered, and we will see you next week.
And don't get haunted. All right. Bye.
Bye.